If you've been riding for any length of time, you know that things have the potential to change really quickly when you're in the saddle. Like 1 minute you're there and you feel great and everything's relaxed. And then the next second, it just feels like you're as stiff as a steak and everything is tense and maybe there's a bit of anxiety and all the things. Well, what if I told you that all of that was actually to do with the thoughts in your head? And that if you could begin to get a little bit more clear on the thoughts in your head, as in what's actually going on in there, and begin to make some, intentional shifts, a couple of tweaks, that can change everything. That's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you exactly how to begin to change the thoughts in your head so that you can do more when you're with your horse. Okay, let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. My name is Lorna Leeson. I'm an equestrian trainer and coach, and I work with riders from all over the world, helping them to understand more about what they're doing with their horse, especially if they're working alone without a regular trainer or coach to help. Okay, and today I want to really and truly get into the nitty-gritty with you, because what if every time you do something that afterwards you think to yourself, why did I do that? Like maybe you leaned forward through the transition into canter, or maybe you gripped up with your knees when the trot began to get a little bit more, energetic, okay? All of the things. What if you were doing those things because of a thought that was running in the background in your mind? An unhelpful thought that if you could just remove or change, it could actually change what your body is doing in the saddle. And instead of just reacting to things, you could actually begin to respond to what's going on in a better way to get the outcome that you actually want when you're working with your horse. That is exactly what we are going to be touching on today. I think that this is a really, really, really important topic, because often we can end up just accepting the way things are. We can say, oh, well, look, there goes my body doing that thing that it does again, instead of actually saying, that's interesting. I wonder what's going on there. Why is my body doing that thing in the saddle, okay? And this can be for doing schoolwork and improving like the training and the developing with your horse, such as maybe transitions, flying changes. But it also applies when we think about going for maybe a hack down the road and there being dogs, or going riding on a windy day. If we don't begin to actually take a hold of the narrative that our mind is telling us, very often we find ourselves in situations that, probably not the best way we could actually respond to something. We tend to just react, and very often those reactions are not what is actually going to get us going forward. So your mind and your body are connected, okay? Like really closely connected. And every single thought that you have, like everything that goes through your head, and if your head's anything like my head, there's an awful lot of things going on there, okay? And some are conscious, some are unconscious. We don't even realize we're thinking them, okay? But when those thoughts go through your head, each one actually has the potential to trigger a reaction in your body, okay? Now, we could say a response or we could say a reaction. And what we want to try and do is to try and find the thoughts that are playing in your mind right now that are triggering a reaction, and you're going to rather tweak everything so that you can begin to get a response that you want and that's actually going to serve you and your horse going forward. So much of what we do in the saddle is unconscious, and we just need to be able to almost like tap in and figure out what's going on, and then from there begin to kind of make it work for us. If you think of maybe the last month or two in the saddle, was there a situation you found yourself in where you kind of anticipated that it wouldn't turn out great, okay? Maybe you were worried about a canter transition, or maybe you were out in a hack and there was a wheelie bin and you could see it up ahead and you're thinking, oh, jeepers, tonight my horse hates wheelie bins. This isn't going to go well at all, okay? What tends to happen is that as riders, when we have a thought in our head that is not helpful, what we tend to do is we brace ourselves. We tend to brace our body, okay? And that is basically your mind creating a physical reaction in your body. Now, the problem with horse riding, as you probably well know, is that, well, your horse tends to pick up on that. So your thoughts literally shape the whole experience that you're having in the saddle. So it makes sense that instead of just having them on repeat in your head, they're on this running audio that just keeps looping over and over and over again. If you could begin to actually identify those unhelpful thoughts, you could then begin to tweak them to begin to make changes that would actually help you and your horse going forward. Now, there are so many different situations where those thoughts can pop up. Like, it's just horse riding is, it lends itself to it, okay? And maybe you have a mind that naturally goes that way, maybe not, but for a lot of riders they do, and especially riders that this is kind of plaguing on them. This is becoming an issue now. Their mind tends to want to jump to that. It could be their mind saying, I'm going to mess this up again, or, we always struggle to get this part right, or oh no, I can feel my horse is already like really tense. He's way too tense for what we're doing. This is not going to end well at all. Or maybe for you it's like, oh sugar, I'm not able to remember all the things now, and now I'm missing some parts of this magic secret thing that everything has to happen together, and now it's going to be a total disaster, okay? There are so many thoughts we can have. And then we have thoughts about our horse as well. We could say like, oh, my horse hates dogs. And these dogs are up here. Look at these dogs. The guy's got them on the lead, but they're yapping away. And he hates dogs. What am I going to do? Okay, so they are all examples of thoughts that your mind can have. And each of those thoughts, when you say it in that situation, when it really is real to you, and I think this is the real important part of this, when your mind believes it, it has a reaction, an emotional reaction in your body, which creates a physical reaction in your body. And it's usually not a great one, hey? It's like we're talking anxiety, maybe fear, frustration, tension, stress, all the words that wouldn't exactly be words that you go like, oh, I can't wait to feel that way again. No, this is not a good response, what's going on here. And it's almost like this domino effect that it goes through the body, and all because of an unconscious thought that is just playing on repeat, probably to the point where you don't even realize the thought is actually there. You don't even know it is a thought. It's just something you accept that's playing, and you take it as being absolute gospel. You're saying, yeah, no, this is it. What if it's not it? What if that isn't actually the thing? What if the thing that's causing you to grip with your knees, or to collapse through your body, or to hold your breath until you turn blue and fall off, okay? What if that thing is not true? What if there's other ways that you could think about that situation? That's what you want to start thinking about in your writing. How to find other ways to think about the situation. So if you can pinpoint a time in the saddle where you had a thought like this, we're not going to ride now, so you can do this wherever you are. You don't have to be in the saddle to do this work, okay? But once you've pinpointed something, you can then begin to kind of go a little bit deeper with it. I love getting curious about things, because I find that especially when we're afraid or nervous or anxious about something, curiosity is a very easy reach to get to. You may not be able to get to calm and to get to certain and like good feelings. You mightn't be able to get to that from where you are. So if there's a thought that maybe oh, my horse is going to bolt when he sees this thing, okay? Or when this thing comes at us, my horse is going to like throw me off and spin around and head home or whatever, okay? If that thought's there, you can actually then begin to become curious about it by asking yourself a couple of different questions. Like, is the thought actually true? Like, is this the only way this is going to work? Or is there a way that this thought and maybe another more helpful thought could be true at the same time? Maybe ask yourself, is there another way that this situation could play out in the moment? How does this thought affect my body? Am I riding? How does this thought feel inside of my body when I think about it? Like, where is the excess tension? Where am I holding it in my body? And what potentially might be a more helpful or constructive, supportive way to look at this situation right now? When you can get curious, it is going to shift your perspective. And what that does, as soon as things begin to shift, that kind of emotional charge that the initial thought created in your body begins to dissipate a little. It's like it takes the edge off of it just a little, okay? So what's really key here is that you observe your thoughts without judgment and that you begin to see them as just a habit that your mind has fallen into. It's the easiest thing for your mind to reach for at that moment in time. It's a habit. It doesn't have to be the truth. It may not be the truth. Or it can be true, but maybe there's other parts of that truth that your mind is not considering. So just kind of keep that in mind. And again, I do suggest doing this off the horse, so not mounted up. You want to give yourself some space here, get quiet, and just begin to kind of imagine and experience this, the thought, like kind of put yourself in that situation and experience the thought and experience the feeling through your body as though you're actually there, because that is what is going to help you to change it. Like if we think about the horse being really, really tense, and you kind of thinking, oh, sugar, this isn't going to end well at all, okay? You can maybe say, yeah, the horse there is a little bit too much tension here, but does that like automatically mean that this is going to be a disaster? Probably not. There's lots of ways that I could work on helping my horse to release or to dissipate some of the excess tension. And often once you can almost like remind yourself of that in a non-stressful situation, it's enough to actually begin to get things unstuck inside of you. And that's important. So once you've identified a thought or two that maybe could do with being upgraded, hey, could do it like out with the old, in with the new, now you get to start thinking about, how could I maybe choose a new, a more helpful, a different thought that my mind could possibly go to when I get into this situation again? Now, it's really, really important to also recognize that some thoughts are definitely there to keep you safe, okay? And it is important to obviously at some point listen to those thoughts. You have to apply common sense to this. I'm not saying disregard every thought in your head that says like, well, there's a hurricane blowing outside today. No, that's just the thought. I'm going to go ride in it anyway, okay? So you do have to apply common sense. But yeah, I also think that as well as common sense, it's important to understand that this is not just positive thinking, okay? We don't want to like just try and kind of, whitewash things over. Oh, it'll all be fine. Like, smiley, smiley. No, that's not going to be helpful in the long run. What we need here is that we can think of more practical and supportive thoughts. And if they're positive, marvelous, okay? That's fantastic, extra bonus. But we're not going to go out of our way just to kind of sugarcoat everything either, okay? And finally, when you're thinking of these thoughts, just make sure that it's believable to you. That if your mind automatically goes, what? That's absolute nonsense. No, that was too big of a stretch. You need to come back a little bit, find something more doable, okay? That's important as well. So if we think of some of the examples we've already spoken about, maybe I'm going to mess this up again. If that's the thought on repeat, you're like, oh man, I have to do this transition again. Every time I ride this transition, I make an absolute hash of it. I just cannot ride this transition. Okay, that is not a helpful thought. Not at all. And all it does, can you imagine? Can you just feel with that thought the tension and just the unwillingness for the body to allow the transition to happen? A better thought, a more helpful thought there would be, okay, you know what? It might not be 100% perfect, but you know what? I'm learning and mistakes are part of that. So I'm not going for 100% perfect. I'm going on that it's slightly better than the last time. That's it. That's the thought. And that's believable. That's believable to anybody. You're not expecting it to be magically wonderful in a 10 out of 10. You're just expecting it to be, a little bit better. Just a little bit. That's it. That is an easy thought. Or maybe instead of, oh my goodness, my horse is already so tense, like, oh, I can just feel him, he's going to explode, this isn't going to end well at all. You can maybe just say, okay, a little bit of tension here, can feel this. Okay, what can I do? Let's maybe try myself and my horse. I'm going to try and connect with my horse using my breath. I'm going to take some intentional breaths here, and I'm going to try and connect physically through my touch and my voice. And let's work on getting the two of us a little bit more relaxed together. That is something that you can believe, that you can work on. You can get to that. You can get to that point. So the key now just becomes that once you find an alternative, better thought, you have to practice it. And again, I do suggest practicing it on the ground. So not with your horse, okay? You want to practice it just on your own, like get yourself somewhere nice and quiet and just keep imagining it. And practice it over and over and over again. I think that that's where really the magic comes into this. And then the final piece that I'm going to encourage you to do is to try and link the new thought to an action, okay? So you can actually do something. So often when we feel unsure, the uncertainty comes from the fact that we feel a little bit like a sitting duck. We can't do anything. We feel powerless. But when you can begin to attach the new thought to something you can physically do in that moment, that is going to help even more. It's going to help to, first of all, ground the actual thought in your body, because it's going to help you to really associate the thought now with something being physically in your body. But not only that, it almost keeps you very present in that moment. It stops your mind running away with you, okay? So I would suggest choosing, little things that wouldn't require a massive amount of physical effort, okay, but that are still going to be helpful in the moment. So maybe if you begin to feel physically anxious, you could intentionally focus on your breathing, especially your exhale. And then in your head, each time as you exhale, you're just saying, it's okay, just relax, we've got this, we've got this. And then you keep doing it. But now you're tying it to your breath, okay? Or if you notice that you're beginning to tense up, then just get really, really deliberate about unclenching your jaw, unrolling your shoulders, allowing your elbows to soften and the grip that your hands, your fingers actually have on the reins to soften. And then just say, I'm releasing the excess tension. I'm releasing the excess tension, okay? You can say it in your head, you can say it out loud, it makes no difference, okay? When you feel the doubt begins to creep in, associate that with maybe dropping the weight down into your heels, opening up through your chest, lengthening through the spine, and say to yourself, I'm able to handle this and I'm showing up ready to do just that, okay? So that way you're really, really like changing what you're physically doing into a more helpful thing instead of curling up into a ball like a hamster and going, oh, holy moly, we're about to die. Okay, never helpful. Never, ever helpful. Okay, so you have to obviously do this consistently in order for this to actually take effect and to become autopilot for you. That's where your mind will go to during any moments of doubt or insecurity or fear or whatever else kind of negative can show up. And again, I do think that it's important to link it to a physical action that you can do in the saddle as well. And I'm going to be honest with you here, this is not going to feel comfortable, eh? Nobody enjoys intentionally thinking about things that they don't like and that they're not comfortable with, and it makes them feel like less than, hey? But this is what you have to do if you want to move those feelings. And they are physical feelings. If you want to move them through your body and let them go, your tension becomes stuck over time. It becomes stuck in parts of your body. Like everyone has a pattern, your horse has as well. And all you're doing is beginning to shine a light on where things are a little stuck, where things are bottled up a little. You're just shining a light and saying, that's it now, move along there now, that's it. And the strange thing is that even though it may feel uncomfortable, it may feel embarrassing, you may even feel shame about it initially, okay? Whatever, all these like not great feelings. You may be feeling that. Once you actually begin to kind of open it up and, as I said, shine a light on it, those feelings tend to go away. They only stay there because we can be unwilling to actually identify the thing. So once you open all that up, it just feels so much better for you and your horse as well. And it's worth remembering that every single rider, like every equestrian, everybody who's worked with horses, whether they're doing it on the ground or they're on the horses' backs or whatever they're doing, okay? Every single rider has faced a similar challenge in their riding or in their working with horses. Like, you're not going to be the first, you definitely won't be the last, hey? So there's no shame in this. It's just a matter of getting really, really honest with yourself and then using that to actually help you to become a more skilled rider. So today, go and find one thought that's on repeat in your head when things aren't going to plan. And then you're going to think about, what could I replace this with? An alternative, helpful thought instead. And then think about, what action could I pair this with? And then begin to practice. Practice out of the saddle and then later practice in the saddle. And because you're rewiring things, it's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. It'll take you a bit of time to do that. But I do think that this is the work to help you to overcome these sometimes unconscious and not even seen, not realized thoughts that are actually holding everything back for you and your horse. It's going to help get both of you unstuck and get both of you moving forward. Okay, I hope this was really, really helpful. If you want more on this topic, I've linked to lots of other episodes like this that I've done before, each of them from a slightly different perspective. You can find all of those over at the show notes for this episode over at stridesforsuccess.com/episode 1359. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Have a super day, keep well, and I'll chat to you soon. Be good. Bye.